Captain Hyenwu stared at his screen and rubbed his tired eyes. The numbers made no sense. For the third time that day, he checked the sensor readings from Sector 7 Alpha. Every time, the results were the same: impossible energy signatures coming from a place where nothing should be alive. Minji ran the deep scan again. He called to his sensor officer. The young woman had been at her station for 6 hours straight, her face pale with confusion. "Sir, I've run it 12 times already." "The readings are consistent," Minji replied, her voice shaking slightly. "There's massive activity in the dead zone. Power grids, construction, even what looks like ship traffic." The bridge of the Stellar Harmony went quiet. Every member of the crew knew the stories about Sector 7 Alpha. Children learned about it in school as a warning. 3,000 years ago, an ancient civilization had tried some kind of experiment there. Something went wrong. The entire region became a hellscape of deadly radiation and quantum storms that could rip apart any ship foolish enough to enter. "Show me the historical records again," Hyenwu ordered. The main screen lit up with old council documents. Red warning symbols covered a vast area of space. The text was clear: quarantine zone, no entry, lethal, radiation levels, quantum field instability, all vessels prohibited. But below that official warning, the new sensor data painted a different picture. Organized settlements, energy production facilities, clear signs of advanced technology working perfectly in conditions that should kill any known life form. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Junho from his station, "should I report this to Council headquarters?" Hyenwu thought carefully. The Galactic Council took the quarantine zones very seriously. For 3 millennia, no ship had been allowed to enter Sector 7. The radiation alone should have made it impossible for any life to survive there. Yet something was not just surviving, it was thriving. Not yet, he decided. First, we need to know what we're looking at. Prepare a long-range probe. Make sure it has full recording equipment and quantum shielding. The probe launched 2 hours later. It was a small, heavily shielded device designed to survive in the worst conditions space could offer. As it approached the edge of Sector 7 Alpha, the crew held their breath. Everyone expected to lose contact as soon as it hit the radiation field. Instead, the probe sent back crystal-clear images. Massive space stations orbited dead planets that somehow looked green and blue again. Ships moved between them with ease, their designs unlike anything in Council databases. Most shocking of all, the radiation levels that should have fried the probe's circuits barely registered on its instruments. "This is impossible," whispered Mingi. "According to our records, nothing should be able to survive in there for more than a few minutes." The probe continued deeper into the sector, sending back more impossible images. The entire worlds that had been written off as dead rocks now showed thick atmospheres and what looked like cities. The quantum storms that were supposed to tear apart any matter more complex than hydrogen seemed to be completely gone. "How long since anyone actually visited this sector?" asked Jun-Ho. Whom pulled up the records. "The last official survey was 800 years ago. Long-range sensors. Only since then, Council policy has always been to avoid the area completely." 800 years, Mingi repeated slowly. "That's a long time for things to change." As they watched, the probe's cameras focused on one of the space stations. The design was elegant and functional, clearly the work of an advanced civilization. Strange symbols covered its hull, not in any language from Council databases. Then something unexpected happened. The probe's movement suddenly became smoother, more controlled. Its trajectory changed as if something was guiding it. "Are we losing control of the probe?" Hyenwu asked. "No, sir," replied the navigation officer. "Someone else is controlling it. They're bringing it in for a closer look." The probe was guided to a docking bay on one of the larger stations. Through its cameras, they could see figures moving around. Bipedal, roughly human-shaped beings working with advanced equipment. The radiation levels that should have killed them instantly barely registered above normal background levels. Then the probe's communication system activated. A clear signal came through, transmitted on standard Council frequencies. The voice that spoke was calm, friendly, and used perfect Council standard language. "Hello there. We've been watching your probe for the last few hours. Quite impressive shielding, though you really didn't need it. The radiation problem was fixed about 40 years ago. We've been expecting someone from the Council to check on us eventually. Would you like to come visit? We have a lot to show you." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "They've been expecting us," Junho asked quietly. "The radiation problem was fixed," Minji added. Hyenwu stared at the screen showing the mysterious station. Whoever these people were, they had not only survived in the most dangerous region of known space, they had made it safe. They spoke Council standard, knew about the Council's existence, and seemed completely comfortable in a place that should have been their tomb. "Send a message to Council headquarters," he ordered finally. "Tell them we need a first contact team, and tell them to hurry." Commander Sujin checked her radiation suit one more time as the diplomatic cruiser, Peaceful Venture, approached the edge of Sector 7 Alpha. Despite the probe's strange reports, she wasn't taking any chances. Her entire Crew wore full protective gear, and the ship's shields were at maximum power. Still no radiation warnings, Commander, reported her science officer, looking puzzled at his instruments. Whatever those people did, they really did clean it up. Sujin had read the probe's report a dozen times. The idea that someone had simply fixed 3,000 years of deadly radiation seemed impossible. Yet here they were, flying into the most feared region of space, with their sensors showing normal background levels. Incoming transmission, announced Communications Officer Tae-hyun. They're asking permission to guide us to their station. Guide us, Sujin asked. We have the coordinates already. A new voice came over the speakers, warm, friendly, and speaking perfect council standard. Commander Sujin, welcome to Sector 7 Alpha. We know you have the coordinates, but there are some quantum field adjustments happening in the area. We'd hate for you to get caught in a gravity wave. May we escort you? And Sujin looked around her bridge. Every member of her crew was staring at the speakers. The casual mention of quantum field adjustments and gravity waves made it sound like these people were discussing the weather. This is Commander Sujin of the Galactic Council vessel Peaceful Venture. We accept your escort offer. Wonderful. Look for the ships coming up on your starboard side. 3 vessels appeared on their screens, moving with impossible grace through space that should have been filled with deadly energy storms. The ships were sleek and beautiful, their design unlike anything in Council databases. They moved without any visible engines, gliding through the quantum fields as if they were swimming through calm water. How are they doing that? Whispered the navigation officer. Those fields should be tearing their ships apart. The escort ships guided them toward a massive space station orbiting what had once been a dead planet. As they got closer, Sujin could see that the planet below was green and blue, clearly alive and thriving. Docking Bay 7 is prepared for your arrival, the friendly voice informed them. Don't worry about decontamination procedures. As I mentioned, we solved the radiation issue years ago. The docking procedure was smoother than anything Sujin had experienced at Council stations. Invisible tractor beams guided their ship with perfect precision into a bay that seemed designed specifically for their vessel type. They built this for Council ships, observed the engineering officer. Look at the power connections and atmosphere. Ports, they knew exactly what we'd need. As the bay pressurized, Sujin could see figures moving around outside. They looked human, bipedal, roughly the same size as most Council species, with dark hair and features that seemed oddly familiar. Atmosphere is breathable, reported the science officer. Actually, it's perfect. Better air quality than most Council stations. A group of the beings approached their ship as the airlock opened. The woman leading them smiled warmly and spoke in that same friendly voice they'd heard over the radio. Commander Sujin, I'm Dr. June Park, Station Director. Welcome to New Eden Station. Please, come in. We have so much to show you. Sujin hesitated. Dr. Park, we need to understand something first. How are you alive? This entire sector was supposed to be uninhabitable. Jion laughed, a sound full of genuine amusement. Uninhabitable? Oh, you mean the radiation and quantum storms? Yes, that was quite a mess when we first arrived. Took us about 6 months to clean everything up. 6 months. Sujin couldn't hide her shock. The radiation had been building up for 3,000 years. Well, yes, but our ancestors left all the cleanup equipment behind. We just had to figure out how to use it properly. The hardest part was calibrating the quantum field stabilizers. Very finicky machines. Ji-yoon led them through corridors that were both advanced and comfortable. The walls showed scenes of the planet below, cities, forests, and what looked like millions of people living normal lives. How many of you are there? Asked Tae-hyun. On this station, about 50,000. On the planet below, roughly 12 million. Across all our settlements in this sector, maybe 200 million. The numbers hit Sujin like a physical blow. 200 million people living in a place that was supposed to be empty. How long have you been here? Our people. Oh, we've been coming back for about 80 years now. The first groups arrived. When my grandmother was young, she used to tell stories about how excited everyone was to finally come home. Come home? Ji-yoon stopped walking and looked at them with surprise. You don't know, do you, about who we are? I mean, we know you call yourselves humans. You're not in any of our databases. Humans, Ji-yoon repeated thoughtfully. Yes, that's what we call ourselves. But we're not strangers to this galaxy, Commander. Our ancestors built most of the infrastructure. You see here, they built a lot of things. Actually, before they decided to leave for a while. She gestured to a large window, showing the restored planet below. This was one of their garden worlds. They designed it to be perfect for life, then left to let it mature. We're just finishing the work they started. Sujin stared at the impossible view. Your ancestors terraformed this place, and about 60 others that we know of. The Council calls them dead zones, but they were never dead. They were just waiting for us to come back and turn the systems back on. The implications hit Sujin all at once. If these humans were telling the truth, they weren't refugees or invaders. They were the original owners of some of the most feared regions in the galaxy. casually returning to reclaim property they'd left behind. Dr. Park, she said slowly, I think we need to have a much longer conversation. Administrator Donghin arrived at New Eden Station 3 weeks later with 5 heavy cruisers and a team of the Council's best experts. His mission was simple: figure out what these humans were really capable of and decide where to relocate them. The Council had agreed that while these people seemed friendly, they couldn't be allowed to stay in a quarantine zone. The audit was supposed to take 2 days. On the first morning, Dong Hyan sat across from Minho, the human representative, in a conference room overlooking the restored planet below. Let's start with the basics, Dong Hyan said, activating his recording device. How did you neutralize the radiation in this sector? Minho smiled cheerfully. Oh, that was pretty straightforward. We just reactivated the atmospheric processors and quantum scrubbers our ancestors installed. They'd been in sleep mode for a few thousand years. Sleep mode. Dong Hyan's aide, Dr. Unesio, looked up from her tablet. You're saying the cleanup equipment was already here? Of course, where else would it be? You can't terraform a sector this size without proper infrastructure. Minho pulled up a holographic display showing the entire sector. Thousands of small dots appeared throughout the region. These are the processing stations. Most of them just needed their power cores recharged. Dong Hyan stared at the display. The Council had spent centuries studying this sector and never detected any of those installations. How many of these facilities did your ancestors build? In this sector, about 12,000 active units. But they built similar networks throughout the galaxy. We've been slowly reactivating them as we expand. Dr. Unesio nearly dropped her tablet. Throughout the galaxy, well, not everywhere, just the places they intended to be habitable. About 40% of the galaxy's current space. Give or take. The room went silent. Dong Hyan felt a cold weight settling in his stomach. Are you telling me that your people own 40% of the galaxy? Minho looked confused. Own? We don't think of it that way. We're just maintaining the systems our ancestors built. Like taking care of your family's house while they're away. But they've been gone for thousands of years. Dr. Unesio protested. Time moves differently when you're working on galactic-scale projects. Our ancestors knew it would take a while for the ecosystems to stabilize. They left detailed instructions for us to follow when we returned. Dong Hyan rubbed his temples. This was supposed to be a simple relocation mission. Show me these other installations you've reactivated. Minho's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. Oh, you'll love this. We've got 27 active colonies now, and we're working on 15 more. The Zarian Nebula was particularly challenging. The Zarian Nebula, Dr. Uniceo's voice went up an octave. That region has killed 47 survey ships. Yes, the dark matter pocket was quite unstable. But once we realigned the gravitational field generators, it settled right down. Beautiful area for farming now. The soil is incredibly rich. Dong Hyan pulled up the Council's records on the Zarian Nebula. It was classified as a Class 9 hazard zone, absolutely lethal to all known life forms. You're farming in the Zarian Nebula. 3 colonies, actually. We're growing some wonderful crops. The modified gravitational fields create perfect growing conditions. Would you like to see some pictures? Before anyone could answer, Minho projected images of vast agricultural fields under strange purple skies. Thousands of humans worked among plants that looked healthy and abundant. In the background, the deadly energy storms that had destroyed Council ships flickered harmlessly like aurora. This is impossible, Dr. Unesio whispered. Not impossible, Minho corrected gently. Just a bit technical. Our ancestors were really good at working with large-scale physics. Over the next 6 hours, Minho showed them colony after colony in regions the Council considered uninhabitable. The scorched spiral, where solar radiation should have cooked anything alive. The void reaches, where space itself was unstable. The maelstrom cluster, where gravity fields changed randomly and crushed ships to atoms. In every case, humans lived comfortable lives in places that should have killed them instantly. How many people do you have in total? Dong Hyan asked weakly. Min consulted his tablet. Active population across all colonies. About 800 million. But we're growing fast. Lots of young families excited to help with the restoration project. Restoration project. Oh yes, our ancestors left instructions for turning this entire galaxy into a garden. We're about 15% finished so far. Should be done in another few centuries if everything goes according to plan. Dr. Unesio looked like she might faint. You're planning to terraform the entire galaxy. Well, the habitable parts. Can't do much with gas giants and stellar cores, though we are working on some interesting starlifting projects. Starlifting? Dong Hyan asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Controlled stellar engineering. Very useful for managing the long-term stability of solar systems. We've done preliminary work on about 30 stars so far. Nothing major, just efficiency improvements. The implications crashed over Dong Hyan like a wave. These humans weren't refugees or colonists. They were the descendants of whoever had originally shaped the galaxy's habitable regions. They had technology that made council science look primitive, and they were casually discussing projects that involved rebuilding entire star systems. Mr. Minho, Dong Hyan, said carefully, "I think we need to have a different kind of conversation, one that involves my superiors." "Of course," Minho beamed. "We've been looking forward to working with the council officially. There's so much we can accomplish together." As Dong Hyan sent an emergency message to council headquarters, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything had just changed. The humans weren't going to be relocated anywhere. The question now was how the rest of the galaxy would adapt to having neighbors who treated cosmic engineering like gardening. Dr. Haywan knelt in the dusty chamber, deep beneath New Eden Station, her hands shaking as she brushed dirt away from ancient stone carvings. The archaeological team had been digging for 2 weeks, following human guides who seemed to know exactly where to look. What they found changed everything the council thought they knew about galactic history. "Send this image to the translation computers immediately," she told her assistant, Ginwoo, as she photographed the wall. The symbols carved into the stone were clearly very old, but they matched the writing system the humans still used on their ships and stations. The chamber was massive, stretching far beyond what their lights could reach. Ancient machines filled the space devices that hummed quietly with power, despite being thousands of years old. The humans had simply walked up to control panels and activated systems that had been sleeping since before council civilization began. Dr. Haywan called Min Young from across the chamber. "You need to see this." Haywan hurried over to where her team member was studying a large display panel. The screen showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with thousands of points, marked in different colors. Green dots showed completed projects, yellow dots showed work in progress, red dots showed damaged or inactive sites. "This is a construction plan," Min Young said quietly. "Look at the dates. The oldest entries were from over 4,000 years ago. The most recent updates were from last week, when the humans had reactivated another terraforming station in the Beta sector. They've been working on this for millennia." Haywan realized. All those dead zones, all those dangerous regions the council avoids, they're not accidents, they're construction sites. A human guide named Sujin approached them, carrying a tablet that translated the ancient writing in real time. "Your people call them dead zones because you don't understand what you're looking at," she explained gently, "but they were never dead. They were just unfinished." Sujin activated another panel, and the chamber filled with holographic images of the galaxy as it had been 4,000 years ago. Then the display shifted, showing how it looked now, and finally projecting what it would look like when the project was complete. "Your ancestors planned all of this?" Jinwoo asked in amazement. "Planned and started," Sujin confirmed. "They spent 2,000 years building the basic infrastructure. Then they left to let the galaxy develop naturally while their systems worked in the background." "But why leave?" Haywan asked. "Why not stay and finish the work?" Sujin smiled sadly. "Because they realized their presence was preventing other species from growing. The galaxy needed time to develop its own civilizations, its own cultures. So they left, planning to return when the galaxy was ready for the next phase." The archaeological team spent the rest of the day documenting what they found. Ancient records show that the humans' ancestors had built not just terraforming equipment, but the foundation systems that kept entire regions of space stable, the stellar engineering that prevented supernovas, the gravitational anchors that kept trade routes safe, the atmospheric processors that maintained breathable air on thousands of worlds. Admiral Youngsu Haewon said into her emergency communicator, "We need an immediate council session. What we've found changes everything." 3 hours later, she stood before the Emergency Council Assembly via quantum transmission, her findings displayed on screens throughout the chamber. Representatives from 1,000 species listened in growing amazement as she explained what they had discovered. "The beings we call humans are not invaders or refugees," she reported. "They are the original architects of galactic civilization, the infrastructure that our societies depend on, stable trade routes, safe solar systems, habitable worlds. All of it was built by their ancestors." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the assembly. Council Chairman Daleth raised his hand. "For silence, are you saying they own the galaxy?" "I'm saying they built it," Haewon replied. "Every dead zone we avoid, every dangerous region we've marked as forbidden, those are their construction sites. They've been politely working around us for decades, maintaining systems we didn't even know existed." Admiral Youngsu leaned forward. In his seat, "How much of the galaxy are we talking about?" Haewon activated her star charts. Red zones appeared across the galactic map. Every region the council considered too dangerous to explore. According to their records, approximately 60% of habitable space contains their infrastructure. Most of it is still inactive, waiting for them to return and complete the work. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Slowly, the implications sank in. The humans weren't asking for permission to live in dangerous areas. They were the reason those areas existed at all. "There's more," Haewon continued. "Our own worlds, the ones we consider naturally habitable, Many of them are only stable because of human engineering. The stellar drift calculations, the atmospheric maintenance, the radiation shielding from galactic core emissions, it's all connected to their systems. She pulled up another display, showing the predicted future of Council space without human intervention. World after world showed declining habitability as ancient systems slowly failed. Without their maintenance, she said quietly, 68% of our current worlds will become uninhabitable within the next 1,000 years. The chamber erupted in shocked conversation. Species that had considered themselves the masters of their own worlds suddenly realized they were living in someone else's carefully maintained garden. Council Chairman Daleth called for order. Dr. Haywan, what do the humans want from us? According to their representatives, they want to finish the work their ancestors started. They want to complete the galactic garden and share it with everyone. But they need cooperation, not conflict. Admiral Youngsu stood slowly, and if we refuse to cooperate, Haywan looked around the chamber at faces filled with worry and wonder. Then we continue living in an unfinished galaxy, while they politely work around us, maintaining the systems that keep our civilizations alive. The truth was clear. The humans hadn't conquered anything. They had simply come home. 6 months after the archaeological discovery, the Grand Council chamber had never seen anything like it. Representatives from over 1,000 species filled the massive hall, their voices creating a nervous buzz that echoed off the crystal walls. Today's session would decide the future of galactic civilization. Ambassador Inzuk walked calmly through the center aisle, followed by a small team of human representatives. Unlike the elaborate robes and ceremonial dress of other species, the humans wore simple, practical clothing. They moved with quiet confidence, like people who had spent their lives solving impossible problems. Council Chairman Daleth called the session to order as Inzuk reached the speaker's platform. The emergency session will now begin. Ambassador Inzuk of the Human Settlements has requested formal recognition and council membership. Inzuk smiled warmly at the assembled delegates. Thank you, Chairman Daleth. Honored representatives, we come before you not as conquerors or invaders, but as neighbors who want to work together. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. The galaxy appeared in 3 dimensions, showing the current distribution of inhabited worlds. Green dots marked council territories. Blue dots showed human settlements. As you can see, Inzuk continued, we currently maintain active colonies in what you call the dead zones. These represent approximately 60% of the galaxy's habitable space. Angry voices erupted from several delegations. The Altarian representative stood up. You cannot simply claim ownership of the galaxy. Inzuk waited patiently for the noise to die down. We're not claiming ownership. We're offering partnership. Let me show you what we mean. The display changed, showing detailed images of human colonies. Vast cities thrived in regions that council ships couldn't even approach. Millions of people lived comfortable lives in places where radiation should have killed them instantly. These are not claims we're making, Inzuk explained. These are communities we've built over the past 80 years. In regions our ancestors prepared for us thousands of years ago. The Zarian representative, a tall being with crystalline features, raised a trembling hand. The Zarian Nebula appears in your territory. Our people have lost 47 ships trying to study that region. Yes, and we're very sorry about those losses, Inzuk replied with genuine sadness. The gravitational field generators were malfunctioning for centuries. We've since repaired them. The nebula is perfectly safe now, and we'd be happy to share our agricultural techniques with your people. Dr. Haywan, attending as the council's chief archaeologist, stood to address the chamber. Honored delegates, my team has verified the humans' historical claims. The infrastructure they describe has existed for millennia. More importantly, many of our own worlds depend on their systems for long-term stability. She activated her own display, showing star charts with council worlds. Highlighted in red, without human maintenance, these worlds will become uninhabitable within the next 1,000 years due to stellar drift and cosmic radiation increases. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The vegan delegate spoke in a shaky voice. Are you saying our homeworld exists only because of their engineering? Your sun's output has been artificially stabilized for 3,000 years. Haywan confirmed. The stellar regulators are part of the human network. Admiral Youngsu stood from his position in the military section. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador? Inzuk's expression became more serious. We propose to complete the work our ancestors started. Full terraforming of all suitable regions. Stellar engineering to ensure long-term stability. Expansion into areas currently considered too dangerous to explore. She gestured, and the display showed the galaxy as it could be. Hundreds of thousands of habitable worlds. Stable trade routes through previously deadly regions. And thriving civilizations spread across space that was currently empty. In return, we ask for formal recognition of our territorial claims and representation on the council proportional to the space we maintain and protect. The Centaurian delegate, known for his mathematical mind, was frantically calculating on his tablet. If their claims are accurate, they would control the majority vote in any council decision, which is why we're proposing partnership, not domination, In-Suk said firmly. We want to work together, share technology, help every species reach their full potential in a galaxy designed to support life. Chairman Daleth leaned forward. And if the council refuses your proposal, In-Suk shrugged gently. Then we continue. As we have been quietly maintaining the systems that keep your world stable, expanding into the regions we're equipped to handle, and hoping that someday you'll be ready to work with us. The Altarian representative tried one more objection. What guarantee do we have that you won't simply take over? Because we've had the ability to take over for decades and haven't done it, In-Suk replied. We're engineers, not conquerors. We want to build things, not destroy them. Admiral Youngsu whispered urgently to his aide. What was that project? They mentioned something about the galactic core. The aide checked her notes and went pale. Basic maintenance on core instability. They said it was scheduled for next year. Youngsu closed his eyes. These people were casually planning to repair the galaxy's most dangerous phenomenon. Like it was a household chore. Chairman Daleth called for the formal vote. All in favor of accepting the human proposal for partnership and council membership. The vote was unanimous. Not because every species loved the idea, but because everyone understood the alternative. They could work with the humans as partners, or watch from the sidelines as humanity quietly reshaped the galaxy around them. As the session ended, In-Suk approached Admiral Youngsu. We're really looking forward to working together. Admiral, our engineering teams have some fascinating ideas for improving galactic defense networks. Youngsu nodded weakly, wondering what he'd gotten the galaxy into. Outside the chamber windows, human ships moved through space with impossible grace, already beginning their next project. The galaxy had new management, and they treated the entire universe like a home improvement project.